The big stadium was super bright. So many blinking lights lit up the place, like a big birthday party for a superhero. The walls and floors of the arena were made of shiny metal, and they shook with the loud sounds of 20,000 people all yelling and cheering at the same time. But these people didn't come to see a normal fight. They came to see something big, loud, and full of fun. On a giant TV screen hanging above the ring, videos played. They showed cool entrances with fire and smoke, funny dances, and silly things wrestlers said. It was all like a big action movie that never stopped. Tonight was one of those super fun nights. The fans couldn't wait. Their faces glowed in blue and red lights from the screens. They held up their phones to take videos, so they could watch again later and show all their friends. This wasn't a place for real fighting. It was a place for fun shows. The biggest star in this wild world was a wrestler named Jalen, the Mayor Vance. Jalen was tall, very tall, and strong too. He had big muscles and was kind of like a superhero, but also a little like a villain in a movie. He used to do real fighting, but now he just made shows, and everyone loved him. Jalen was famous not just for his muscles, but also for how he acted. He liked to be mean in a funny way. He would make fun of old wrestlers who used to be champions a long time ago. If someone had a shiny belt 10 years ago but walked slowly today, Jalen would call them into the ring just to make jokes and win easily. But Jalen didn't do it because he was angry. He did it because it made people laugh and cheer. That's what made him so popular. He had cool music, flames that went boom, dancers, and giant screens showing his face and his favorite pose, fists up, mouth wide open like a lion. He was on all the posters, video games, t-shirts, and toys. The young fans loved him. They thought he was everything strong should look like. He was loud, cool, and always winning. He knew how to pose for the camera and say just the right words to make the crowd go wild. Every time he did something, people took pictures, made memes, and shared them online. That night was a big one. The event was called Iron Night, Legacy Breakers. It was supposed to be a show where old champions and new fighters meet. But really, there were only new wrestlers pretending to be like the old ones. Jalen was the last one on the schedule. He was the main event. And he had a new idea, a surprise challenge. He would go out to the ring and say, "Any old legend out there, come fight me now." The people running the show thought it was funny and said, "Yes, it'll go viral." They didn't think anyone old would really come. It was just a joke. The lights dimmed. Everything went dark. Then the giant screen started counting down. 10, 9, 8, all the way to 0. Boom. The music hit hard. It was loud and full of growls and thunder. "Vance! Vance! Vance!" roared the speakers. Jalen walked out, wearing a shiny coat with mirror pieces that sparkled like stars. His eyes looked playful and a little bit mean. He got to the ring, held a microphone, and smiled big. "Let's talk about the past," he said loudly. "Those dusty old videos your dad watches. The heroes from a long, long time ago." Some people cheered. Some booed. But everyone listened. "I'm giving someone a chance. Any old hero with gray hair and slow knees, come down here and show us what you've got." The cameras moved across the crowd, looking for someone. Most people thought it was just for fun. But then the screen stopped. There was a man sitting in the third row. He was quiet. He had a dark denim shirt and a plain black hat. His beard had white stripes. He didn't look angry or scared, just calm. A name appeared on the screen, Jason Statham. Everyone gasped. Some laughed. Some couldn't believe it. Even the people talking on the microphones froze. Jalen turned to the screen and saw the man. His eyes got big. Then he laughed. Oh wow. The meme himself. The kick master of the past. Mr. Jason Statham. Some people laughed. Some were quiet. "You're here to sell vitamins, Jason?" Jalen joked. "Or maybe show us that old slow kick before bedtime." Jason didn't laugh. He didn't even speak. He just nodded once. It wasn't a loud nod. It was quiet but strong, like saying, "I'm ready." Jalen smiled big and said, "How about this, Jason? 1 round. 1 minute. Next week. Just for fun. What do you say?" The whole crowd held their breath. Jason raised one hand and gave a thumbs up. He said yes. Jalen spun around, grinning. You saw it. Next week. Jason Statham versus Jalen Vance. The crowd jumped up and screamed. The announcers were shocked. Did that just happen? Jason Statham is coming back. Jason stood up, shook a few hands kindly, and walked out through a side door. He didn't rush. He walked like someone who already knew this moment was coming. The people were still loud. They thought it would be funny to watch Jalen beat up an old man. But what they didn't know was that this match wouldn't be about who was stronger. It would be about something deeper. The next morning, the whole internet was buzzing. Videos of the moment Jalen challenged Jason were everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. Everyone had something to say. Some people laughed, some made jokes, some were excited. One video became super popular. It was made by someone on Jalen's team. It had loud music and showed Jalen being cool and strong. Then it showed funny clips of Jason from old movies. The video made Jason look super old and slow. The last picture showed Jalen holding a walker like for old people and winking. People laughed and shared it a lot. At lunchtime, the wrestling company said the fight was real. Jason and Jalen would be the big match of the week. There would be posters, toys, shirts, everything. But the way they showed it was kind of mean. Jason's picture was made to look even older, and Jalen looked like a giant ready to crush him. The word said, "Time to put the old dog down." Jalen loved it. In interviews, he joked even more. On a podcast, he drank an energy drink with his face on the can and said, "Jason's cool, for a museum. He's like a Civil War sword fighting a drone." The podcast host laughed. "Aren't you a little worried though? Jason did real martial arts." Jalen shook his head. "So did my uncle Randy. He also plays Wii bowling with a knee brace." Everyone laughed again. More people started joining in. A TikTok challenge started called #RoJalenTime. Teenagers wore fake mustaches and jeans, pretended to be Jason, did slow kicks, and then fell down like old people. It was all jokes. Jalen was super happy. His followers grew, his shirt sold out, and everyone was talking about him. But not everybody thought it was funny. Some people, real martial artists who had trained for many years, started to feel sad about how things were going. On a live video show, a kind judo fighter named Maria Kwan was invited to talk. The host thought she'd laugh too. But Maria didn't laugh. She looked calm and said, "I'm not saying Jason will win. But that's not what matters. This isn't just a joke. It's not just about being old or young. Martial arts is about respect. About self-control. About being strong inside." She continued, "You don't lose that just because your knees hurt. Jason might not be fast anymore, but he has something deeper. And making fun of that is wrong." Some people nodded when they heard her. Others still thought it was funny. But the world started to split. Half were cheering for Jalen. Half were remembering what Jason stood for. The people watching were very excited. They wanted to see someone lose. Some hoped it would be big and loud, like in movies. Others watched and felt a little weird inside. Something didn't feel fair, but they didn't know why. Jason didn't say anything. He didn't do interviews or write on the internet. He didn't show videos of himself training or talk about his plans. The people in charge of the fight tried to find him. They asked his friends, flew drones over his house in Texas, and even tried to pay people to tell them where he was. But nobody found anything. It was like Jason had disappeared back into the shadows, like a quiet ghost. Only one video was ever seen. It was shaky and posted by someone nobody knew. It showed Jason outside a small karate building in a quiet town in New Mexico. He was bowing in front of a wooden dummy while the sun was rising behind him. He didn't need anyone to watch him train. That wasn't the reason he did it. In the big offices where the people running the fight worked, no one was scared. They were happy. They had what they wanted, attention. Everyone was talking about the match. As the day of the fight got closer, ticket prices went up, up, up. First they cost twice as much, then 3 times. The big stadium sold every single seat. TV companies said more people wanted to watch this fight than any other one in years. Lots of companies wanted their ads shown during it. Jalen, the younger fighter, was very happy. But he wanted more. He didn't just want people to watch. He wanted to make a point. Jalen had grown up watching Jason Statham movies on TV, but he didn't love them. He thought they were slow. The stories didn't move fast. The fights were always the same. Jalen liked fast YouTube videos and new super-fast fighting. To Jalen, slow meant weak. Quiet meant boring. He didn't hate Jason, but he didn't think Jason was scary either. But behind closed doors, Jalen was a little nervous. During one of his last training times, his old coach Darius Ruiz tried to say something important. "Listen," Darius said, fixing his hat while Jalen hit a big punching bag again and again. "I know it's for fun. I know it's for show. But don't forget, this man Jason, he's not just a character. He's real. You saw the video. He still moves like music, smooth and steady." Jalen didn't stop. "It's just a pretend fight," he said. 5 minutes. No knockout. It's not a big deal." Darius came closer. His voice sounded more serious. "It doesn't matter. Jason's been doing this longer than you've been alive. He's not here to win. He's here because he is this. That's what makes him dangerous." Jalen finally paused and wiped his face with a towel. Then he laughed. "He's 85 years old, Darius. Are you really scared of old bones and old moves? I'll be gentle. I'll let him kick me for fun. Then I'll finish it nicely." Darius didn't say anything. He just walked away, shoulders heavy. He had seen too many fighters think being famous meant being strong. He had seen too many people fall not because they were hit, but because they didn't understand what they were really fighting. As the fight day came closer, the big city of Los Angeles got ready. Huge signs were everywhere. On the roads, on buildings, on walls. Half the signs showed Jalen with a shiny crown and big muscles. The other half showed Jason, standing small and quiet, holding a cane, even though he never really used one. The people who made the ads used a lot of money. They even made a fancy video that played during a big basketball game. It said in a loud voice, "This isn't a fight. It's the end of a legend. The past meets the present. Only one wins." But not everyone believed the flash. In small places, old gyms, tiny dojos, and quiet chat rooms, people talked. Not fans of Jalen. Not fans of Jason. Just people who loved martial arts. They remembered the stillness before a punch. They remembered that a black belt is something you earn, not something you show off. For them, this fight wasn't about who's stronger. It was about something deeper, what the fight means. The night before the match, Jalen made a video from his big hotel room. Behind him, the city sparkled through glass windows. His friends laughed. Loud music played. People danced and drank bubbly drinks. Jalen stood in the middle of the screen, no shirt, showing his muscles. Lots of people watched. Fans sent happy faces and fire emojis. "Tomorrow," Jalen said, smiling, "we say goodbye to the Jason Statham story. For good. I'll make it fast. I'll make it fun. And when it's over, I'll help the old man stand up again, with respect." He winked. The crowd in the video cheered and laughed. But far away, in the quiet desert, Jason bowed once more in his small studio. The sun rose behind him. He was alone. He was calm. And he was not scared. The big storm was almost here. But the center of it wasn't Jalen's strong arms, or his fame, or his shouting fans. It was a quiet place in the ring. A place full of peace. That afternoon, cars filled every road into downtown Los Angeles. There were traffic jams. Helicopters flew overhead, taking pictures of the stadium. It was covered with giant glowing screens showing the fight's ad. On the screens, Jason's serious face sat beside Jalen's smiling one. Words flashed across the picture. Past meets present, the final round. Outside the stadium, long lines stretched for blocks. People sold t-shirts with Jalen's face. Foam fists. Fake walking sticks they said were Jason's. Even special energy drinks for the event. People came from all over the country. Many wore fun costumes with paint and glitter. Cameras chased influencers and YouTubers making funny videos. It didn't feel like a normal fight. It felt like a big party for a king. Inside, workers were very busy. Camera people practiced how to film the best shots. The people talking on TV rehearsed their lines. They had big cards with Jalen's name written in huge letters. They had catchphrases ready to say during the match. Everything was carefully planned to make it look amazing. The fight would happen after a silly tag team match with celebrities and just before a famous rapper sang songs. In the control room, the boss gave orders to make sure Jason's entrance looked dramatic, with lights and music to make him seem old but powerful. In the locker rooms, things looked very different. Jalen's room was full of noise. Music bounced off the walls. His friends joked and took pictures. His stylist fixed his shiny red and gold robe. Jalen's hands were already in his gloves. His coach, Darius, sat in the corner, arms crossed, quiet. Nobody talked to him. They didn't need him anymore. He was no longer part of the show. Jalen stood in front of a mirror, smiling at his reflection, flexing his arms. "How long?" he asked. A helper checked his headset. 7 minutes. Jalen nodded. "Let's make history." Just across the hallway, Jason's locker room was very quiet. No decorations. No music. No crowd. Just one folding chair, a water bottle, and Jason himself. He sat calmly, hands resting on his knees, eyes closed. The helpers dropped off a towel and left. He had been sitting still for almost an hour. He didn't check the time. He didn't whisper words. He just breathed. In and out. Slowly. All the loud noises outside, the fans, the music, the excitement, none of it bothered him. He just sat in silence. Then there was a knock at the door. "Mr. Statham, 3 minutes." Jason opened his eyes. They were quiet and clear. He stood up slowly. Every move was smooth, like a river flowing. No shaking. No doubt. Just peace. He picked up the towel, put it over his shoulder, and nodded. A helper led him down the tunnel. Inside the big arena, the lights went dark. Everyone got quiet. The big announcer's voice filled the space. "Ladies and gentlemen, it's time." The screen showed the names. Exhibition match, 5 minutes. No winner decided. Then boom. Thunder sounds. Zing. Loud guitars. Flashing lights. The crowd jumped to their feet. Jalen's entrance began. Curtains dropped. Flames shot into the air. Giant screens showed videos of Jalen kicking, dancing, smiling, winning. He wore his shiny robe and walked proudly. People cheered. Some booed. He loved it all. He gave high fives. He posed for cameras. He smiled at famous people in the front row. His music ended. He waited in the ring, excited. Then the lights dimmed again. A single spotlight turned on. It pointed at the tunnel. No music. No sounds. Just footsteps. Jason walked out. No sparkle. No flash. He wore a simple black outfit and dark shoes. He didn't wave. He didn't smile. He looked straight at the ring. The crowd was confused. Some clapped. Others just stared. They didn't know what to feel. Jason didn't look at them. He stepped into the ring, bowed, and went to his corner. The announcer stepped in. In this corner, weighing 261 pounds, the undefeated champion, Jalen the Mayor Vance. Jalen raised his hands. Cheers exploded. He smiled and pumped his fists. And in this corner, the announcer said, former karate world champion, martial arts master, the legend, Jason Statham. No loud cheers this time. Just quiet. Not because they didn't like him, but because they felt something different. Something strong and real. The referee stood between them. 1 round. 5 minutes. No winner. Clean fight. You may touch gloves if you want. Jalen held out his glove with a smirk. Jason touched it gently. No smile. No words. They went to their corners. Ding. The bell rang. Jalen rushed forward like a rocket. Just like everyone thought. He punched fast. Jab. Fake punch. Big swing. Jason didn't get hit. He didn't jump. He just moved a little. Like a leaf in the wind. Jalen's punches missed. Jalen turned and spun, trying a big kick. The crowd shouted. But Jason ducked, stepped inside the kick, and moved away. 30 seconds passed. Jalen hadn't landed a single punch. And now, the whole arena started to feel something shift. The big crowd was loud. Everyone was excited. They wanted to see a big fight. They wanted punches. They wanted someone to fall down. Everyone shouted and cheered. They wanted to see blood. Then the two fighters came into the ring. One of them was named Jalen. He was fast and strong. People loved to watch him. He smiled and showed off. He moved quickly and threw many punches. He swung his fists up and down, left and right. But none of his punches hit. They all missed. The other fighter was Jason. Jason did not punch back. He didn't hit. He didn't even look worried. He just moved his body, side to side, back and forth. His feet were quiet. His face was calm. It looked like a dance. People who knew a lot about fighting were amazed. But others were confused. "Why isn't Jason fighting?" someone asked. Jalen smiled a little, thinking he was winning. He tried harder. He punched again. One punch touched Jason's face a little. Not hard, just a little. The crowd cheered. Jalen smiled big and lifted his arms. He thought he was doing great. But Jason just stood still. He bent his knees and got ready. He didn't punch. He didn't rush. He looked calm. He looked still. Then something big happened. Jalen tried to kick Jason. It was a big, high kick. But Jason moved to the side, quick as a cat. Then, without warning, Jason pushed his palm, his open hand, right into Jalen's chest. It was fast. It was strong. It was soft but sharp. It didn't hurt, but it made Jalen step back. Jalen's eyes got big. He looked surprised. It wasn't because he was hurt. It was because he was shocked. He looked at Jason like, "Who are you?" Jason didn't move. The crowd got quiet. They felt something had changed. This wasn't just a fight. This was something else. It was like a show, but not a silly one. It was special. 2 minutes went by. Jalen was breathing harder. He was sweating. Drops rolled down his face. He swung his arms again, wide and fast. But Jason just moved gently. His shoulders turned, his feet stepped to the side. He didn't even seem tired. Then Jason struck again. This time, it was a low sweep. He moved his leg across the floor to trip Jalen. It didn't hurt, but it made Jalen lose his balance. He almost fell. Jason didn't hit again. He didn't need to. The crowd stopped shouting. Now they were quiet. They were watching. Really watching. Jason had only used 2 moves. But it was already clear. The fight was his. In the corner of the ring, a man named Darius stood up. He wasn't smiling. His eyes were big. He had seen what was happening. He knew the moment had changed. 3 minutes passed. Jalen waited. He didn't attack quickly this time. He was careful. He tried to fake Jason out, pretending to go one way. Then he tried a takedown, like in wrestling. He wanted to grab Jason and throw him to the floor. But Jason was ready. He dropped down, spreading his legs and chest. It was a sprawl, a perfect move. He didn't just stop Jalen. He used Jalen's own power to roll him sideways. Jason didn't punch him on the ground. He didn't show off. He just made space. He stood tall again. 4 minutes passed. Jalen was on his knees now. He wasn't hurt. He wasn't bleeding. But he looked confused. He looked tired in a new way, like his mind was tired. Like he didn't know what to do. Jason stepped back. Jalen stood up slowly. He didn't smile anymore. He didn't look proud. He started to walk around Jason, trying to figure him out. Jason raised his hands into a stance from karate. He looked calm, still strong. Jalen got angry. He charged one more time. He threw a big wild punch, fast and hard. But Jason blocked it. Then, without effort, he moved behind Jalen, tapped his shoulder, and gently pushed him forward. Jalen stumbled. He almost fell into the ropes. He turned around, blinking, like he was lost. Then the bell rang. The fight was over. No one was knocked out. No one had a bloody face. There were no big hits or loud crashes. But everyone knew what had happened. For 3 seconds, the crowd said nothing. Then came the sound, not wild cheers, but slow, deep claps. First, just a few. Then more. Then all 20,000 people stood up and clapped. Not because someone got hit, but because they saw something special. Something quiet. Something full of power. Jason Statham bowed. Then he left the ring. He didn't talk. He didn't give a speech. He didn't smile for the cameras. He just walked away. Calm and quiet. Jalen stayed in the ring. He didn't know what to say. He had never felt this way before. He stood there with sweat dripping from his neck and fingers. The lights above felt strange now. They didn't feel excited. They felt like questions. Jalen, who was always full of jokes and big words, stood with no words at all. He wasn't tired from running. He wasn't hurt from punches. But something inside him had been touched. Something deep. Jason had taken nothing, and in doing so, had taken everything. The sound of the bell still echoed in his ears. Not the ring of the bell itself, but the silence after. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't boring. It felt respectful. Like he had stepped into a quiet, holy place. And Jason? Jason didn't leave like a winner showing off. He left like a monk walking out of a temple. His head was high. His body is straight. Like the crowd wasn't even there. Jalen blinked up at the lights. Then he turned to his corner. Darius was there, holding the ropes open. He didn't laugh. He didn't look smug. His face showed quiet care. Jalen stepped out of the ring slowly. Like a man walking out of a courtroom. People were lined up in the hallway, workers, fighters, helpers. Nobody said a word. Some nodded. Some looked away. Back in the locker room, the noise came back. People talked in low voices. Bottles of water were opened. Bags were packed. But the music was turned off. Nobody dared to turn it back on. Jalen sat down. He stared at his gloves. His body wasn't hurt, but he had never felt so small. So quiet. Across the city, the internet exploded. People started sharing clips of the fight. But not the usual kind. Not the loud punches or big kicks. This time, people shared videos of Jason moving. Jason dodging. Jason staying calm. Someone made a slow video of Jason's perfect sprawl. They said it looked like calligraphy, like drawing with quiet, careful hands. Others showed a side-by-side video. On one side, Jalen before the fight, smiling and dancing. On the other, his face changing after Jason's second move. Hashtags changed. Before the fight, people made fun of Jason. But now they said things like, hashtag respect the legend. Hashtag stillness wins. Hashtag Jason Statham is real. News shows started talking about it. Sports people sat up straight when they told the story. They said it was special. Not just a fight, but a moment. Experts talked about Jason's moves. They explained how he used balance and gentle redirection, not power. Even people who didn't like fighting said, wow, this is different. But the biggest change came from the fans. People who used to love Jalen for being loud and wild started thinking different thoughts. Why did we laugh? They asked. Why did we want someone to lose in a funny way? Why does quiet feel more powerful now? Jalen read the comments. He saw the videos. But for the first time, he didn't reply. No jokes. No memes. No strong words. He just sat quietly. Hours passed. The arena emptied. The lights went dark. He sat in the locker room. Alone. Thinking. Later that night, in a hotel room high above the city, Jalen stood by the window. His bathrobe was loose around his shoulders. He looked at the lights below. His phone buzzed again and again, messages from agents, reporters, fans. He ignored them. Then he saw one message. It was from Darius. It said, "You okay?" Jalen didn't reply right away. He let the question sit in the air. Finally, he typed, "I don't know." Darius wrote back, "That's a start." Jalen turned off his phone. He stood in the quiet. Somewhere out there, Jason was already gone. He didn't take pictures. He didn't give interviews. Someone said he didn't even take the fancy limo. He just got into a regular cab. The fight company tried to sell new shirts. Jason versus time. But people didn't want a joke anymore. They wanted something real. The next evening, Jalen came back online. Not with music. Not with lights. Just a video. He wore a hoodie. His eyes looked tired. He looked right into the camera. "I thought I knew what fighting was," he said. "I thought it was about being loud, being strong, being watched. I thought it was about winning." He paused. "Then I stood in a ring with a man who didn't shout, who didn't try to hurt me, who didn't care about the crowd. And I realized I was wrong." He looked down. "Jason Statham didn't beat me. He didn't have to. He showed me something I didn't even know I was missing." Another pause. "I'm not done fighting. But I'm done pretending I understand what it means to be a fighter." The video ended. Millions watched it. Not for laughs, but for truth. Days passed. The noise faded, but the feeling stayed. Far away, in a quiet dojo in West Texas, Jason Statham stood in front of students. The floors were wooden. The mats were soft. No cameras. No lights. Just peace. Among the students stood someone new. At the far end. Head bowed. Wearing a white robe. No shoes. No pride. Just focus. It was Jalen. He was quiet. Still. Ready to learn. Jason didn't say welcome. He didn't clap. He just nodded. And the room was silent. He gave a small nod and started the lesson. The fight wasn't over. It had only just started. The dojo, a quiet place where people train, was calm. The morning sun came through the big windows. The light made golden lines on the shiny wooden floor. Tiny dust specks floated in the air, gently, without moving too fast. The walls had nothing on them, except one old paper scroll above the door. On the scroll were a few big, black letters, painted with a brush. They said, "Discipline before mastery." That means you need to practice and be calm before you become really good. There were no mirrors, no shiny trophies, no loud pictures. Just space. Clean, quiet, and peaceful. Jalen stood at the edge of the mat. His feet were apart, his hands at his sides. He wore a plain white outfit called a GI. It had no name tag, no patches, nothing fancy. It felt like armor, but also made him feel like he had nothing to hide. His knuckles hurt just a little, not from punching, but from being still. His body wanted to move fast, to fight, to explode with power. That's what he was trained to do. But now, he had to be calm. He took a deep breath in, then slowly let it out. He tried to breathe like the others. There were 8 students. They moved in a circle, doing a slow dance called a kata. It's like a fighting dance passed down from teacher to student for many years. The movements were small and careful. They were not loud like on TV, and not wild like in MMA fights. But there was something deep about it. Something strong that Jalen didn't understand yet. At the front stood Jason Statham. He wore a black GI that looked old and faded. His belt had lost all color. It was so used and soft. He moved slowly, but with purpose. The whole room moved with him, like planets going around the sun. He didn't speak. He didn't yell or correct anyone. He just moved, and they followed. When the kata ended, Jason bowed. The students bowed back. Jalen waited, then bowed too. It had been 2 weeks since Jalen came to the dojo. He didn't make a big entrance. He just sent Jason a quiet message. "If you're serious," Jason had replied, "come to the dojo. Be ready to learn." So Jalen came every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. He cleaned the mats. He stacked the pads. He sat in silence with the others. Jason never acted like Jalen was famous. Nobody asked for pictures or stories. Maybe they knew who he was. But nobody said anything. In this dojo, everyone was equal. Everyone started at the beginning. Later that afternoon, when class ended, everyone left. Jalen stayed. He sat in the corner with his water bottle. He watched Jason roll up the soft mats. Jason didn't rush. He moved with care, like every piece mattered. Jalen waited. When the last mat was rolled up, he spoke. "Can I ask you something?" he said. Jason looked over and raised one eyebrow. Jalen paused. Back in the ring, during that exhibition match. You could have hit harder. You could have dropped me. Why didn't you? Jason picked up a towel and started wiping the wooden floor. He didn't answer right away. Because that wasn't the lesson, he said finally, still not looking up. Jalen frowned. What do you mean? Jason folded the towel and sat across from him. His face had wrinkles, but his eyes were bright, like he could see very clearly. You came into that ring ready to fight, Jason said. But you didn't need a beating. You needed to see something. See what? Jason spoke slowly. What happens when the noise goes away? When your ego, your big idea of yourself, gets quiet. When all that's left is just who you really are. Jalen didn't say anything. Jason went on. Most people train to win. Some train to be the best. But a few trains to understand. They don't care about showing off. They just want to know the truth. Those are the strong ones. The ones who are free. Jalen looked down at the floor. I used to be like that. Maybe when I first started. But now, I don't know. Jason nodded. Fame is like noise. It gets loud. But it can't tell you what your heart is saying. Only you can hear that. They sat quietly. But it didn't feel bad. It felt important, like the silence meant something. That night, Jalen stayed late. He watched old videos, not of himself, but of Jason. The clips were old and blurry. Some were tournaments. Some were just training. But Jalen saw something in them. Jason didn't fight to show off. He didn't fight to be loud. He moved with control, like he was protecting something special inside him. The next morning, Jalen got to the dojo before the sun came up. The door was locked. He sat on the front steps, wearing a hoodie. His breath came out in little clouds because it was cold. Jason showed up 20 minutes later. He didn't say anything. Just gave a small nod, unlocked the door, and walked inside. That day was different. There was no class. No group. Just Jason and Jalen, alone on the mat. Jason didn't talk much. He didn't yell. He didn't even explain. He just moved. And Jalen followed. They circled each other, barefoot. Jason tested him, not with punches, but with timing, with movement. Every time Jalen tried to strike, Jason moved it away gently, like moving water with a stick. Jalen tried to be faster. He tried to be stronger. But Jason wasn't trying to win. He was just present. Right there. Calm and still. At last, Jalen was tired. He dropped to one knee, breathing hard. I don't get it, he said. You're not stronger than me. You're not faster. But you always know what I'm going to do. Jason offered a hand. Jalen took it and stood. It's not about guessing, Jason said. It's about being here. Right now. You're fighting a picture in your head of me. But I'm not that. I'm just here. Jalen started, chest rising and falling. How long does it take to learn that? He asked. Jason smiled. Longer than 2 weeks. That night, after class, Jalen stood by the door. Jason was turning off the lights. Do you think I can change? Jalen asked. Really change? Not just how I fight, but who I am. Jason turned off the last switch. The dojo went dark, except for the soft light from outside. I think you have already started, he said. The next months passed like a dance. Jalen kept training. He kept listening. He stopped using his phone during breaks. He deleted his apps. He stopped practicing what to say for interviews. Something in him changed. He began to notice more. How Jason moved. How he breathed. How every little step had a reason. Jalen stopped asking for fast answers. He started asking better questions. Each time he left the dojo, he didn't go back to loud noise. He went home to think, to feel, to grow. Then came the call. The fighting group wanted him back. They wanted him in a new match. Not against Jason. That part of his life was now special and quiet. But against a new fighter named Zion Creed. Zion was 24. Strong, fast, and loud. He reminded Jalen of who he used to be. Full of power and pride. Jalen didn't say yes right away. He went to the dojo and sat next to Jason outside. "They want me to be the star," Jalen said. "But I don't want to be who I was before." Jason looked at the sunset. It was deep orange, falling over the parking lot. "Then don't," Jason said. "Walk in as who you are now." Jalen nodded. On the night of the fight, the arena looked the same. But Jalen was different. No music. No dancers. No shouting. He walked in alone, hoodie on, eyes calm. He stepped into the cage, bowed, and waited. The crowd didn't get it. They whispered. The announcers talked. "Has Jalen lost his fire?" they asked. But inside the cage, Jalen stood like a tree. Zion came fast. He punched, shouted, and moved wild. Jalen didn't yell back. He blocked me. He moved. He stayed calm. In the third round, the chance came. Jalen didn't knock Zion out. He used a clean move. A soft trap. A hold. Zion tapped the mat. It was over. Jalen let go. He helped Zion to his feet. No cheering. No flexing. Just peace. The crowd went quiet. Then slowly, they stood and clapped. Not just for winning. For something else. Something rare. Jalen took the microphone. Not because anyone told him to, but because he wanted to say something. "I used to think being strong meant being loud," he said. "But I learned from a man who never yells, and still changes everyone around him." He looked into the crowd. Jason sat in the front row, calm, watching. Jalen nodded. "True strength," he said, "doesn't shout." That night, when the lights went off and the crowd went home, Jalen looked at his phone. One message was waiting. 6 a.m. tomorrow. The path continues. Jalen smiled. He replied, "I'll be there." Because now he knew, winning wasn't about a belt. It was about who you become. In the quiet that comes after. Enjoyed the story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I always love chatting with you. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you won't miss the next wild ride. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, stay curious and keep the adventure alive.